Well, good morning. Welcome to the Morning Touch. I'm Darwin Campbell. The Morning Touch is brought to you by the Chapters for the Homeless and the FSBC in Glendale. It's Wednesday. We have reached the middle of the week, and we're back in studio and not out on site today just to bring you a short message in our continuing discussion about change. Today, we're going to talk about changing the game. You know, many of us are aware of that sports-related term, changing the game. How do I apply that to my life when it comes to change? We just finished talking about change means I want me some God. Well, if you want you some God, what is it that you have to do to get you some God? Changing the game. That's where it starts. And we're going to talk a little bit about what that means. In Exodus chapter 20 and verse 3, the first law given to the children of Israel coming out of Egypt was this: thou shalt have no other gods before me. And with that thought, the Morning Touch is brought to you by the Chaplaincy for the Homeless and the FSBC in Glendale. No other gods before me. That was a point of law that was at the top of the law. Israel was reminded on a consistent basis there should be no other God other than Jehovah God in the sight of the Israelites. When you look at the book of law, Deuteronomy, it is emphasized that when they went from the area of Egypt into the promised land, God reemphasized that point. If one is changed, the first litmus point is that you must understand that you shall have no other gods before Jehovah God, the God of heaven, the creator of mankind, the one who's from the beginning and at the end. Listen to Deuteronomy chapter 12, verses 1 through 3. When they went into the land, here is what God told them. These are the statutes and judgments which you shall observe in the land, which the Lord God of thy fathers gives thee to possess it all the days that you live upon the earth. It's amazing how we have to be constantly reminded that we must remain changed. Once we change, we must remain changed. How do I remain changed? I change my game. He says, you shall utterly destroy all the places wherein the nations which ye shall possess serve their gods, under the high mountains, upon the hills, under every green tree. Ye shall overthrow their altars, break their pillars, burn their groves with fire, hewn down the graven images of their gods, destroy the names out of that place. That's what God told them. God told them, you shall have no other gods before me. When you enter the land that I have given you, you shall have no other God before you. I am your God. You are my people. Therefore, you are to go in and completely obliterate, wipe them out, overthrow those stones, overturn them, destroy them, and erase them completely. You see, the other nations didn't worship Jehovah God. They had many other types of gods, those gods of stone, gods of trees, gods of the sand, gods of the earth, gods of the sun. God said, I am God, and him only shall thou serve. In other words, he reminded Israel that the God who created it all, Jehovah God, was the only God that they should serve. He is first. You see, God frowns on idolatry. God frowns on idolatry, and he called upon Israel in the book of Deuteronomy, that new generation that was to inherit that land. He wanted them to know, just like their fathers had been reminded, no other gods before me. You are to erase them. You are to overthrow them. You are to destroy them. You are to wipe them out. Because let's face it, God is a jealous God. He wants your attention. He wants my attention. How does that fit in 2022 in changing my game? Well, first of all, when you think about God's demand, God's command, that if they wanted his blessing and they wanted his prosperity and they wanted his protection and they wanted his providence, he said, you must worship me and me alone. God makes it clear that he's first. God made it clear with Israel that he's first. He says, you make your sacrifices to me. You focus on me. I am first. Today in 2022, we must also consider this premise. What is change? What does it mean? In my life, it means that I must destroy the monuments that stand between me and God. And my friends, in our lives, we have many monuments that stand between us and God. We have the monument of our portfolios, how much money we have. We have the monument of our golf game. We brag about it all the time. We have the monument of our careers that we work so hard to maintain and keep. We have a monument involving our sports teams that we worship season in and season out. We have the monuments of the heroes that play on those sports teams that we set in high esteem and make them idols. We have the monuments of our spouses where we set them up on pedestals. My friends, some of us have bad monuments. The monuments of alcohol, the monuments of drugs. Some of us have hobbies that separate us from God. But my friend, here is the conclusion of the whole matter. Matthew 6:26 says, what of your monuments? What does it profit a man if he gains the whole world and loses his soul? You enjoy your monuments. You have your fun. You spend your portfolio. But in the end, my friends, what will you give in exchange for your soul? God says, have no other God before me. The Lord God, him only shalt thou worship and serve. Change means that you are willing to deny yourself, take up your cross and follow Jesus, Matthew 16:24. So what am I talking about? When I talk about change this week, I'm talking about allowing the Bible to make you better, allowing the Bible to shape you, allowing God to direct your every step, trusting in Jesus Christ. That's where change begins. That's where a true relationship with God begins. That's what it means. Fear God, keep his words. It is the whole duty of man. Ecclesiastes chapter 12:13. If your life needs fulfillment, if your life needs the return of joy, if your life needs peace, if you are being tossed to and fro and upset by the means and measures and the happenings in this life, my friends, I consider and ask and call upon you to consider change. Change means putting God first, making him that priority, developing a real relationship with him, seeking him first, so that all other things shall be added unto you. Matthew 6:33. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. That's the beginning of change. No other gods before me. That's the beginning of joy. No other gods before me. That's the beginning of peace. No other gods before me. That's the beginning of a true relationship that leads to peace and happiness in this life. You know, I'm reminded of Matthew 10:32. Jesus says, if you confess me before men, him will I also confess before my Father. Jesus will know your name. He'll know who you are. If you yield yourself to him and you develop a relationship, a true relationship with God that says, my change means that I will separate myself from those things that so long have separated me from God. That's right. True change means I will separate myself from those things that have separated me from God all these years. You don't have to miss the boat. You don't have to miss the plane. You don't have to miss the train. All you have to do is recognize the truth. Thou shalt have no other gods before me, and restore yourself and develop that relationship with God. As we wind down, change means destroying your idols, what separates you from God, focusing and making those sacrifices that you need to make God number one in your life. that you may have no other gods before me. And then, of course, give your heart to Jesus Christ today. My friends, that's the lesson. That's where change begins. That's where your new life begins. That's where your new focus and your new purpose starts. The Bible will make you better, but first, you must decide not to have any other gods. Nothing separating you from the God of heaven who created it all. God bless you and keep you. You go forth this day with the idea that I'm going to change, that I'm going to repurpose, that I am going to set my feet in the path that leads to heaven. Have a great day. See you next time on The Morning Touch. God bless you.